Hello and welcome to The Point of Everything. My name is Owen O'Sullivan. Delighted to be joined for the first time in a couple of weeks by Ciara Byrne. Ciara, life gets in the way. How are you doing?
It does. I'm good. I had a little stint of being not very well after coming back. I was on a cycling trip for a week and then I think I picked something up when I was away, so I was quite unwell. Ended up with a fractured jaw, and here we are, weeks later, in
Recovering.
recovering. Yeah, yeah.
How dramatic. How was the cycling trip?
No, it was amazing. I don't know if you've ever done like a cycle through Europe at all, but there's greenways the whole way, so it's all like cycle paths. I think it goes from Norway like all the way down to the south of Europe. There's the Eurovelo track. So we cycled, my dad and I rented bikes in Dresden, cycled from Dresden all through the north of the Czech Republic and down to Prague. It was incredible. It was coming into autumn, so it was getting a little bit chilly, and all the trees were starting to change colour. And you cycle along the Alps the whole way, so you're beside the water. We met some interesting characters, some Czech people who loved Ireland. It was brilliant. How have you been in the time since?
Yeah, good. I did a marathon, so probably didn't cover as much as you did. How many miles did you, or how many kilometers did you guys cover on your trip?
We did 210 kilometers, but I think it's more impressive to be able to run for 40 something days straight.
40 kilometers. Yeah, so I got a quarter of the way that you guys did. I would recommend it for anybody who's into running. Always just a great atmosphere around most marathon tracks or routes, I suppose. But Dublin in particular is great. There's just so many people out, even though it was a wet and muggy day around Sunday morning around Dublin. Like, there's people all along the route, and it's just like they're just cheering on random strangers. It's just such a nice atmosphere. And like, I usually, when I go running, I would have like podcasts lined up and I would have some music lined up for a long run as well. But just halfway through, maybe it was just because the rain was starting to affect my headphones or something, I was just like, I'll just take out my headphones. And you just like in your own head, and it's such a mental battle, and you have all these people cheering you on. It's such a great just something that I don't really get from anything else. So I really loved it. I would recommend it to anybody who's into running. It can seem daunting at the start, but little by little you get up there, and whether you're doing it in like 2.5 hours, your third marathon, like that 19-year-old from Limerick who won the Irish national women's title at the marathon, or whether you're 80 years old and still running it after 50 years. Like, I think that there's something to be said for all comers in the marathon. Are you into running?
Yeah, I was going to try to do a half marathon and I haven't yet done it. Maybe that's the 2026 list. I've done like the most I've done is 15K. So I think if I've done 15, I'll be able to do 22. And surely if you can do 22, you can do 40.
Maybe start with that half marathon and see how you go. We are talking for the first time in a few weeks, Ciara. There have been a lot of albums, a lot of music that has come out in the interim. Maybe we'll be talking about some of those albums. I'm thinking of the likes of Sprints and New Dad, who I know that we were both excited about. Maybe we'll be talking about them later on when we think about our best of the year. But there's so much, it just never stops. The new music, it just keeps on rolling. We're talking on Friday, November 7th, early enough, 10:30 in the morning. And just today, I think I've got a list of 5 new albums out today that I think are great, that I would highly recommend to people. So maybe we'll run through them. We'll see how we go, and people can take notes, and you might find new music to soundtrack your weekend or your week, or indeed the rest of the year. The Altered Hours release their third album, self-titled The Altered Hours, today. They have been around for about 15 years, so I guess that this is a long time in the making. I've got an interview with Cathal, the co-front person in the band, coming up next week. We talked earlier this week about the making of the album. He says that he sees this basically as Altered Hours 2.0 version 2. however you want to call it. There's real confidence here in this album, a real band feel. It's 10 tracks, 40 minutes long. They've released the first 3 tracks on the album, I think, are all singles. But then when you're listening to the album, it just kind of gets better and better the further through you get to it. Paper Roses is the 4th track on it, and that is kind of Elaine Howley's baby. So Elaine Howley has had a great few years since the Altered Hours released their second album, Convertible. She released her own album and has been playing all over the place, and Cathal from the band has been playing with her on the solo stuff too. So maybe there's a little bit of a different dynamic there. But Paper Roses, it sounds like Altered Hours made this song and Elaine kind of took it away with her, kind of worked on it as well. I think it's one of the best songs of the year. It's one of the best things that I've heard all year. So I'm going to be talking about that song like whenever we do talk about our songs of the year. It's just every time that I listen to the album, it just like melts me. I think it's one of the best tracks that they've done, and you can hear me saying something similar to Cathal in the interview next Wednesday. I know that you saw Altered Hours for the first time at All Together Now. I dragged you to their midnight show. I think it was on the Saturday, and you saw them for the first time, but you've seen them since as well.
Yeah, very thankful for that introduction. And that was their first live gig in a year and a half, as far as I know. So I'm very thankful to you for forcing me to go see them because I've become a massive fan since. So they played as part of Bold Frontiers in Dundalk a couple of weeks ago, which was just an incredible weekend of, like, it's one of those weekends. It was the first year of the festival, run by Joey Edwards, who's part of Pizza Records, which this album actually came out via, and then a couple of other creatives around Dundalk. And they had the Altered Hours, they had a Fontaine's DC DJ set. Just Mustard were playing, Tessio, a couple of new bands that I saw for the first time who were just like blew me out of the water. Rosie Murphy played. Elaine Howley also played a solo set in the Green Church in Dundalk. Beautifully backlit. There was like stained glass and everyone was sitting in pews, and it's just the setting that like you should see her in, I think. Roche also played, and that was my first time seeing her live too, and she's been on the list for about 2 years, so it was just such a treat. But the Altered Hours, they had one of the biggest crowds of the weekend in the Spirit Store. It was kind of like a teeny tiny Other Voices in Dundalk. Like, it was all people who loved music and big music fans, and musicians were all gathered around, went to all of the gigs, and the Altered Hours were incredible. They played some tracks from this new album as well, Too Much Too Late, Such a Steal, Turn Away. You're right about it being like some of their best work. It's like such an incredible album, to hear live as well. And I will be going to see them again in Whelan's in December because I'm such a fan now.
Yeah, the Altered Hours have 3 live shows coming up in December. They're in Whelan's on December 10th, live at St. Luke's in Cork on December 12th, and St. Nicholas's Collegiate Church in Galway on December 13th. I always think of them as a live prospect, and they're brilliant live. They just ooze cool. Like, they're so cool up on stage, I think. But this album is probably the best one that they've done. If you like guitars, I think you'll love this. I think it's one of the best rock albums of the year. Also out today is Animoe Drive with his second album, Thank God It's Friday. Oisín Leahy Furlong is the frontman of Thumper, and he is Animoe Drive, and this album came together really, really quickly. He says, in the depths of winter last year, myself and my friend Ian McFarlane, who plays bass in the Animoe Drive live band, sat down and recorded 11 songs in 2 days, almost knee to knee in Ian's tiny studio. We then mixed everything and bounced it onto reel-to-reel tape with engineer Rian Trench. The resulting songs are short, intimate and lean, a direct reaction to the expansiveness of my first album, Breakfast in Bed. I think when I was younger, the idea of making epic, sprawling 7-minute songs sounds like the pinnacle of songwriting. It was at albums like Dawn by Mount Eerie or The Bunkhouse Volume 1 by Fionn Regan that really hammered home the value of something concise and personal. With that in mind, we took a cutthroat approach to the arrangements of these songs. Virtually every intro, outro, or double chorus was removed, leaving only the most succinct incarnations. So this album is really, really tight. It's only 30 minutes long and it's 11 tracks. Really, really gentle, easy, maybe kind of like an alternative to that Altered Hours song album, which can go quite heavy if you wanted to. Have you gotten a chance to listen to this album, Ciara? Are you familiar with Animoe Drive?
I am, yeah. I was a really big fan. I'd seen Oisín play live like a couple of years ago and like listened to some of his earlier work and Breakfast in Bed quite a lot, like when it came out. I saw Animoe Drive interestingly being described as the yin to Thumper's yang, which is perfect. I know that he'd released this, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but the first song released as part of Animoe Drive was also released on the same day from Thumper, and it was a complete different version of the song. I just think it's really interesting what he does in terms of Thumper. It's really like heavy, like he's in the middle of crowds jumping around during a mosh pit. When they play live, it's very like shouty men music, but good, like different shouty men music to the other shouty men music. Big band, big sound, and the Animal Drive stuff is so stripped back. It's really just Oisín and his guitar and some harmonies. It was a lovely like ease into a Friday morning. I know it's called Thank God It's Friday, but a lovely little like work from home Friday, wake yourself up gently album. I think it moves on from Breakfast in Bed, which was kind of heartbreak into light again, was the like theme of that album, and this seems to be a little bit lighter and a little bit more leaning into kind of those themes of love, which is, yeah, makes for lovely gentle listening.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. I mean, when you listen to Thumper, there are moments like this on their music, but usually they are a full force to be reckoned with. I like that idea of shouty men music. Is that like the absolute alternative to like sad girl indie, you know, like the Phoebe Bridgers kind of a thing, shouty men music?
I think so, but I think you need a bit of both in your life. Again,
Yeah.
it's the yin and the yang, you know, you need certain times of the day you need one, and certain times of the day you need the other. You can wake yourself up with the Animal Drives of the world, and you can lead into your Friday evening with the Thumpers of the world.
Animoe Drive are launching the album with a full band show at the Grand Social Ballroom next Thursday, November 13th. That is a great record. Get on that. Maybe a lesser known name with an album out today is Eamon Brady with his debut album Half Light. He has been around for a long time, mostly working behind the scenes as a producer, mentor, multi-instrumentalist. He also teaches at Ballyfermot Music course, which a load of people have come through. I think I talked to Varro earlier in the year and they mentioned Ballyfermot, that they had both studied at. Eamon has worked with the likes of Junior Brother, The Whileaways, David Kitt, The Spook of the 13th Lock, to name just some of the very many acts. And on this album, he's kind of stepping out into his own light, stepping out from supporting others. It's kind of acoustic guitars and alternative tunings and odd time signatures, modular synths, pedal steel, strings, wind textures. There's live and sample drums underneath as well. It's kind of, maybe there's just a little bit more going on than in the Animoe Drive album. If Animoe Drive is very minimal, this is maybe like a little bit more going on. Eamon Brady launches Half Light at Whelan's, upstairs at Whelan's on December 10th. So that is the same night as Altered Hours are playing. So a tough choice to make that day. There's two great trad folk kind of albums out today as well that I'll mention too, if you don't mind, Ciara. Aoife Bhriain and Cormac McCarthy released their collaborative album Cosán, Casta. It's a really, really great kind of low-key jazz influence working through the jigs and the reels throughout this album. The press release says that they both left Ireland to study and explore their practice within jazz and classical music. And they say that it quickly became clear that the musical accent of Irish traditional music cannot be disguised or gotten rid of easily. It continues to shape how they approach every genre and how they express the truest version of themselves as musicians. The album blends old and new to tell the story of who they are, where they come from, and the winding path their music has taken them on. Their journey hasn't been straightforward, but each twist and turn has ultimately led them back to the music they began with, back home to where it all started. A really, really lovely listen, and almost like a companion piece to this new collaborative album from Seán McErlaine and Caoimhín ó Raghallaigh. That's out today as well. It's called Old Segotia, and those two will be very familiar names to people who've been paying attention to Irish trad and folk music over the past 20 years. That's how long that they've been playing together. I'm not sure have they played in... Yeah, they have played in bands together. They were both in This Is How We Fly. Seán McErlaine is also in Quiet Music Ensemble, and Caoimhín ó Raghallaigh, people might know him best for his work with The Gloaming. And this is like a new wave kind of a folk album. It's also got kind of jazz and sonic experimentation is the word that's used in this press release, and that really is it. It's something really, really interesting. I'm excited with acts who are pushing things forward, and these two guys are very much indebted to the past but don't want to stay there. They very much want to push things forward, and this album Old Segotia is just a really, really lovely, interesting listen and a great companion piece to Cosán Casta by Aoife Bhriain and Cormac McCarthy. So Seán McErlaine and Caoimhín ó Raghallaigh are launching Old Segotia today in the Riverbank Arts Centre in Newbridge. That's November 7th. And tomorrow, November 8th, they're at the National Concert Hall in Dublin. So absolutely loads to dig into just today from Irish acts. That's not even thinking outside of these shores. Ciara, Raghallaigh has a new album out today. It's called Lux, which I absolutely can't wait to listen to. I don't know, do you are you familiar with Raghallaigh? Are you as excited as I am about this album?
I find it so interesting. Like, I would have listened to Raghallaigh in like 2018, 2019 a lot, and she's just taken a completely different track for this one. I heard the one song that she has released already, and it's like German Baroque classical music. And it's such an interesting turn for her. And my first honest impression was like, what is this? I don't like it. But the more I've looked into it, it's really interesting because she's pushing a whole kind of anti-AI thing with it as well. She's like, it's all recorded live. There's videos of her with a whole classical ensemble, like playing the music live. And she just went a completely different way. And I think it's really interesting and innovative, especially in the kind of the world that is becoming much more AI focused in a lot of different ways. I think it's really interesting for her to take a stance against that and make something so human and like use a form of music that has existed for generations and generations and generations, and make her own version of that as like a Spanish person tuning into German classical music.
Yeah, there's a great interview. Well, it's a good interview. I wouldn't say it's a great interview with her on Popcast from the New York Times. It's a really long one, and she's talking about various parts of the album. Basically says, ran out of money, used a lot of money making this over the past 2.5 years. And she sings, again, like you say, no AI on it. She sings in 13 different languages across the album. I'm looking forward to seeing if that's still makes for a good coherent album. Is it a bit like showy off? But she's someone who I don't think has ever played in Ireland, and she's one of these acts who I would I definitely think about traveling to see her do this full show next year if she is planning live dates around it. I can't wait to listen to this album. What else have you been up to recently, Ciara? I know that you're at a great show. Was it in Whelan's last week?
Yeah, it was. And I haven't seen them for a while. Like I feel like they made or had a lot of the Jameson Connects gigs, like in maybe they kind of happened from like November to March time. So I haven't been to one for a while, but there was one on in Whelan's on the 29th of November with Soak, Circa Richardson and Child of Prague. I am a massive Soak fan, like have been listening to them for about a decade. And I think they had a vocal injury last year, so they didn't really do very many live gigs. They've sang with Niamh Regan and done some kind of accompanying shows, but this was their first headline back in a long time, and they played some new tracks from music that'll hopefully be released in the coming year. And I also saw Child of Prague for the first time, who I am an absolute convert for. They are an Irish trad band with Midwest emo and math rock guitar influences. Think like Black Country New Road with a little bit of Irish trad, and that is Child of Prague. They're like
Does it work? Does it work?
Works so well. So I've seen Circa Richardson a lot before. I've seen Soak a lot before, and I think we were upstairs or getting a drink or something, and we heard Child of Prague start, and we were really like drawn to the stage. They're just really cohesive. They're really, really tight musically. They're from all over. So they're from San Francisco, Dublin, Boston, London, and Tipperary. A great mix. And we were trying to figure out like who on stage is from where, like who the Irish people were, who the American people were, who the like London-based person was. And they're kind of like an eclectic mix, but it works really well. It started as a writing project in 2021 between Jack McDonald and Adam Tracy, and it's grown. It's had a couple of iterations of members since then, and they've recently released their debut EP, Clothed in the Sun, which I think is a name that works really well for the kind of music that they make. But they're absolutely ones to watch. They haven't got a whole load. They've got a couple of gigs coming up. I don't think they've like done a whole load so far, but I think they're definitely ones to watch for the coming year.
What is the new Soak stuff like, if you can think about it a week ago?
It's very personal to them. I think they spent some time in America and really kind of got the chance to explore like this other side of life away from Derry, away from Dublin, but then the music focuses as well on Dublin as a place that they've lived for the last, I think, 3 years. They said that it was the one place apart from Derry that they really felt home, but write about the kind of struggles of making a home somewhere where it's difficult to afford to live and afford to be an artist. So those are the kind of themes in their music, and as always, beautiful vocals, beautiful musical accompaniment, and I'm just very excited for the release. Hopefully, whenever that happens.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it, that it's November and we're starting to look ahead to albums and new acts of 2026. Both exciting there, the prospect of new Soak music, the prospect of this band Child of Prague, who sound very interesting. And if I were to put my money on one of the biggest, most definitely ones to watch, it would be Madra Salach, who I feel like you've been on like earlier than anybody else, both them and their indie alternative Fizzy Orange. But Madra Salach put out a new track last week. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so I have seen them. I saw them at Whelan's Ones to Watch last January for the first time. And now they've been around. I think they've been playing in kind of various like formations for the last couple of years, but they've only really started playing live and releasing music, and they just shot up to acclaim. I think they did 7 gigs at, was it? No, they did 4 definitely at all together now, like 4 different slots, and I think they might have done like, maybe it was less than 7, but like 5 or 6 at Electric Picnic. And they have just released their second single, I Was Just a Boy. They've released tour dates as well for their first headline tour around Ireland and the UK, and they actually sold out their London venue, so they're upgrading, which is huge for a band who've really only been playing live for a year. So they are playing in Ireland around February. They're playing Wavelength in Cork on February 5th, DeBarras and Clonakilty on February 6th, the Roisin Dove in Galway on Feb 7th. Taking a break for a couple of days, they're playing Mike the Pies in the Stole on February 13th, Casta and Limerick on Feb 14th, and the Spirit Store in Dundalk on Feb 15th. The song Blue and Gold was their first release. It was inspired by Paul Banks buying his habit of buying scratch cards. Blue and Gold are like the scratch cards, and it has kind of clear Lancome influences in the arrangements. But their most recent song, I Was Just a Boy, came from Adam. They'd kind of started it as a riff and saying it would work well as a brief instrumental track, and it's ended up as a 7-minute long track with a really full band sound. And they have this kind of instrumental interlude towards the end, which is really interesting to see on stage because it's quite like a build up of energy. The lyrics are centered around adolescence and the tumultuous nature of it. They're a band that are massively on the up very quickly and full of very talented multi-instrumental musicians. So it'll be very exciting to see where they go in the next year if they've come this far already in 2025.
Yeah, so that single is off the It's a Hell of an Age EP, which is due out on January 23rd. It kind of reminds me of Mary Wallopers. I don't know if you, of course you know this, you're from Dundalk. Their kind of rap side project, which started first, which was called TPM. And then it was the trad thing, the Mary Wallopers, that felt like it was kind of just a little jokey thing for them to get out, and suddenly it balloons. And I feel like that's kind of something similar that's happened here with Fizzy Orange, who I thought were kind of the main thing. But now Madra Salach seem to be like shooting for the sky. So interesting that they can do both, and both are like doing really, really well. They're going to be exhausted by the end of the year. How many gigs are they going to play before the end of the year?
I know. Yeah, very excited to see where they go.
Yeah, very excited to see. I think I saw them once over the summer, and very excited to catch them on their Irish tour early next year. That's an unbelievable song that they put out last week. I Was Just a Boy. It came out the same day as that new Lancome track, which is just unbelievable. That was an incredible 15 minutes of me listening to music on the dart into Dublin City and just being blown away. Oh my God. How exciting.
We listened to it on the we have like speakers downstairs, and like there was 3 of us huddled around the speakers on the day that it came out. It was Halloween, like the day before. And we were just huddled around the speakers, and we were like, oh my God, at every like turn, and then it goes electronic. It's amazing.
Yeah. So exciting.
Ghost Town.
We've talked about lots of new music. Let's finish up with even more new music. Ciara, let's talk about some new tracks that came out this week, or maybe ones that are coming out. I'll talk about a new song from a very old band, or a band from the past. Cypress Mine is the name of the band. They're from Cork. They formed in 1984. They released this very seminal 1980s, certainly for Cork anyway, I feel like for Irish music in general, a seminal album called Exit Trash Town. And yeah, 40, how many years ago? That's over 40 years on. They're back. So they started out with Ian Olney, Ciaran O'Tuma, Mark Healy and Dennis O'Malan. And the current iteration of Cypress Mine features Mark Healy on bass and Morty McCarthy of the Sultans of Ping Cork music royalty. He is on drums for Cypress Mine. They've put out a new single called Spellbinding. It follows a reissue of Exit Trashdown in 2017, and I guess that reignited an interest in the band. Maybe it reignited an interest in the band from the band themselves. Maybe they reconnected, got together and thought, you know what, 40 years on, we kind of still enjoy doing this. And Spellbinding is the first track from an album that is due out early next year. Kind of a classic, kind of a Cypress Mine 1980s Cork sound, very bouncy, really, really good 3-minute pop song. Ticks all the boxes. They've also got some shows coming up if you want to get them in the diaries for early next year. January 30th, they're in Mike the Pies in Listowel. January 31st, they're in Leavis's of Ballydehob. February 14th, they're in Crane Lane in Cork, and March 21st, they're in the Bellow Bar in Dublin. So that's Cypress Mine with their new single, Spellbinding. What about you, Ciara? What have you got to finish us up this week?
My track of the week kind of takes a different sound to what we've been talking about. We've been talking about very kind of acoustic-y, trad-y music today. My track of the week is Fred Again's collab with Reggie, who is a Dundalk artist, with the song Talk of the Town. So they basically like recorded and mixed and like finished this live when Fred was over in Dublin last week. He performed live on Thursday in the Button Factory. So I did try initially to get tickets for the RDS, but they were like gold dust. They just didn't exist. And I did think Fractured Jaw might not be the best combination with a Fred Again gig, so it was probably for the best. Yeah, so they did like a little secret gig, or like kind of a smaller gig in the Button Factory. They sent out some emails to people that they thought lived in Dublin, which they missed me somehow, but and they performed it live for the first time there on the Thursday before, and then they played in the RDS on Saturday. And I saw, now Fred had kind of a no camera rule. They gave stickers on the way in because he was performing some new tracks, and also they were filming that show. So he's been doing some shows that he's announcing like the week of all across Europe for the USB2. The kind of, yeah, he's playing live, and then he's releasing tracks week by week for his new album. And he's collaborating with people locally as well, wherever he goes. But the Irish collaborations have been absolutely mad. He had Kenema and Reggie and a couple of others. He played with Travian Els in the RDS along with Amy from Amlin and the Sniffers, Joy Anonymous and Shady Nasty. So this new track, Talk of the Town, it's very much about Dundalk, which is great. The lyrics are Talk of the Town, be on the Talk of the Town, A91, which is like our postcode, Dundalk living. It's great. It's brilliant to have that on the Fred track. That's, is that the draw of it maybe? But I think it's my favourite, unbiasedly, favourite of the tracks that Fred has released so far on USB2, produced by Sammy Vergie. I think it was secretly dropped on Monday the 3rd. He put it up, I think he just put it up on YouTube and then sent out a newsletter later in the day to say that it was available on streaming platforms. We had over the weekend been listening to like TikTok versions of the live stream in the car just to try and get a bit of a hit from it, which I think still probably hits a bit harder. I think the live version for some reason is probably a bit more bassy, like bass heavy, but yeah, brilliant track, good Dundalk representation.
And Fred Again is good too.
And Fred Again is good too. Yeah, very impressive, talented person.
Yeah, I was kind of like big into him, like his first 3 albums, the actual live stuff that he did. I kind of haven't been paying as much attention, but I feel like I'm going in the wrong direction because he's absolutely humongous. I mean, he headlined Electric Picnic last year, and the RDS, he could have done, I don't know, 10 shows there to try and satisfy demand. Like you said, tickets were like gold dust.
Yeah, they'd held 3,500 people, and I think there was like probably tens of thousands of people in the queue for it. So,
well, that is a whole list of music that we have to go, that I'm excited to go away and listen to again, that we've talked through there, Ciara. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk again in 2 weeks as we begin thinking about best of the year stuff.
Brilliant. Thanks, Millie Known.